Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, in the morning, afternoon, and evening, it is another episode of Camera and Flask. Welcome, gentlemen, and all to the chat. And here we are. And how are you, gentlemen, doing today? That's the gentleman. Come on.
Leave you hanging. Doing well. How are you guys? How are you, Mr. Jim?
I'm doing well. This is an exciting day because we are back to, we hope, me hosting Camera and Flask, taking the load off of Caleb, who so graciously took his time and his bandwidth and shared it with the world so that we could continue doing this every week. And if you've been following this channel at all, you know that a lot of things have changed, but more importantly, a lot of things have changed in the last 7 days. In fact, 7 days ago, Caleb was hosting the first episode using ECAM Live, and here we are without a watermark down in the bottom left-hand corner, and we are using ECAM Live right now for this stream. It's kind of amazing. On my second monitor, I can actually play back what you are all seeing, so I can take a look at Caleb and Ben and make sure that the feed is happening, and pretty consistently getting about 15 to 20 up. So we're going to see how this all works. We're even going to attempt with the normal latency settings that we have today, playing back a full screen 1080p video and seeing if we can push that out to everybody. That'll be like the one little experiment that we have going today. But more importantly, while it looks like Ben is drinking coffee, I'm sure he has something more leaded in his vicinity. So let's start with you, Ben, and what are you drinking today?
Yeah, sorry, I am actually sipping away at that because it is tea, but it has got whiskey and honey in it. So
nice. All right.
This is a good thing to be drinking at this time of the day when we finish this, so that my head is not sort of spinning around and keeping me up till 3 a.m.
And type of tea that you're having?
Oh, this is amazing. I found this week, and it is a ginger and some little red berry, but it's like a real citrusy thing. It's almost like you've squeezed half a lemon into it. It's fantastic.
Brilliant. Okay, and Caleb, what kind of empty bottle are we going to see this week?
Well, the supply over here is getting real low. Cassie just went out and did some shopping, so we've got some more stuff. But I'm finishing up something we were working on over the weekend, which is Winking Owl, which is Aldi brand Pinot.
Oh, nice.
Whoa. Okay.
A little more than Caleb. So
yeah. Something
very sweet. Not normally what I would, partake.
Yes.
During the show, but be a nice, refreshing, crisp end of the day. How about you, Jem?
Very simple. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it. I'm just making good use of the sales on the Glenlivet Founders Reserve. It dropped again on Monday, so I just picked up another bottle. Also picked up a nice bottle of Reposado, but I'm not drinking that right now. And I might have had a little bit too much of this last night, so I'm going to go easy today. We'll just have to say that there was kind of a happy hour going on Zoom, and it went kind of late. So cheers, gentlemen, and good to have you here on a hosted from here episode, and hopefully this will continue. So here we go, and cheers to everybody in the chat.
Cheers, no throwing.
David is drinking a Rumba Rum Company. Not the best, okay. Ginger teas are awesome. We just picked up some nice extras, like the really good ginger beer. So I'm thinking I'm going to have a Moscow, probably a Mexican mule with that Reposado soon, which will be very nice.
Nice.
And which I think I prefer, actually, to be honest. And then what do we got? Anything else? I think that's it. We can put little questions up over things, like, here it is right there, and right over the Skype logo. Somebody asked. We'll just put the Grumpy Penguin over there and see how that looks. That'll be exciting. So there you go. So, and cheers to you, Grumpy Penguin. Though I venture to guess that you're not grumpy all the time, judging by your videos. So there you go. Especially if you're in the garage and you're working with a car. And Bart's having the Kentucky Mule
my goodness.
with Woodford. Oh, you
Oh,
are.
shiz.
There is. Oh, shit. That should be
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Look at that.
I need to screenshot this and put it in a gold frame somewhere in my house.
Wait, this. Yeah.
Well done.
Look at that. And then this is
gorgeous.
Right there. Let's put it right there. And, whoops, I'm moving some things around. That wouldn't want that to be.
I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
What I'm not proud of is the fact that I left a fan on just out of frame. So I'm going to actually real quick lean over unprofessionally and turn that off. Excuse me.
Well, thank you for the euros. And when I can get back over there, I'm going to spend it on an espresso. Where are you based, Shiz? If you don't mind me asking. There you go. Awesome. So thank you very much for that. So half a glass of $2 Chuck Chardonnay. I'm assuming from Traders. Maybe I'm wrong. Is it early? 3 in the afternoon? Nah. Oh, it is early. 3 in the afternoon. Well, not really. Not at this point in time with what's going on in the world. It's it can be 5 o'clock in the afternoon whenever you want it to be at this point in time until we're all back at work. Just go easy. Andres, what's up? How did Shiz get the funky font? That's what Shiz does. Oh, Shiz can make it happen, and I like it. It's got a little bit of 80s vibe. It's got a little 80s vibe to it too, which I totally appreciate. So it's all good. There's a little Adidas there. That's how we pronounce it, but some people pronounce it differently. Hello, sir. I got my fresh coffee with XO Cafe Patron. Very nice. All right. Look, guys, we're streaming here. There's no dropouts yet. Your picture looks great, by the way, Ben, today. You know, sometimes it's a little chunky, but it's just holding up beautifully. Does that just mean your internet's kind of holding up, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I guess so. It's been a little weird the last couple of weeks. I think everyone's obviously been at home, so everything's been a little overloaded. So we've had, from our normal 25 meg connection down to sort of 2, 3, 0 for quite a lot of the day. Normally by midnight it started to recover because everyone's in bed. But yeah, it's doing all right this week.
All right, let's see how it holds up. Hopefully I didn't jinx it. Caleb's doing fine, as always. And this week, we really want the chat to kind of be cranking. So a lot of interaction, a lot of back and forth with the chat. And hopefully you're not hearing too much of that dance class that's about to be over for my daughter in the other room. I'm trying to do that.
I didn't hear anything.
Pretty freaking solid here, Benjamin says. Can you copy and paste it right out of chat? You're talking about the little overlays, or what's the question? Are you talking about the Skype logos? I don't know what's going on here. There's a lot of things. Rob, you got to clarify for me. All streams are looking good. All 3 videos look great. Caleb's red is super popping in a good way. Yeah, it is.
This hoodie overpowers many a vector scope. How's that for the dorkiest comment ever?
You should have. It should say, "I'm out of legal range," is what your T-shirt should say.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I've been dying to make a shirt with an actual like color picker, like a chart, and just wear it and see if it's actually helpful.
Do it, and then make the rest of the like the hoodie is just 18%.
18%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Beautiful
hot.
Thing. I think so.
Good luck with that coming back accurate from the printers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but you know, you probably have to do like 6 to 10 runs and you probably get something, but in the end it might work out. And we can say things like that here and people actually understand what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Which is a beautiful thing. Yo, Caleb, when can we expect the Aputure 60D 60X video? Interesting.
Well, they didn't send me one, so probably when it comes out, which is going to be, usually if they're going to send stuff, it's around the launch. So what did they say? Late summer? Q3?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and Shiz says, love Ben's video that he posted on his channel. Nice work.
Thanks,
Oh,
Shiz.
dude, that's right. I need to
Yep.
look that up. What's your channel? We'll plug it for everybody.
Yeah, and we should also play it. Like, we should start to actually. Should we do a little experiment since the 60D 60X thing has come up? Let's just do a full screen playback of video and see if it works. Are we down for that, everybody? It's only 50 seconds. It's only 50 seconds long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a different scene. And no, Carlo, just to answer before I switch over to the video, no word yet on pricing. They're still working stuff out over at Aputure with those lights and also the little light bulb, which is has advanced quite a bit since we saw it at NAB about a year ago. They've definitely added some things, and it looks like it's close to being production ready. So
I hope so.
Bill, well, let's play the video because it's not really a lower version of the 120D. It's kind of its own light category, and I think that going forward it'll be interesting because this could be, in my opinion, where Aputure may be going with some of these types of lights. But let's go ahead and play back the video, and we'll talk about it afterwards. So going to that scene. And there we have it. Are we back? I think we're back. Gentlemen?
Yeah, it started pretty delayed on my end, but it looks and sounds amazing. So I think it worked as an experiment to play something.
Yeah, I think we're normal latency. So we should be coming into, obviously we're going to be real time for everybody who's watching the stream on their end. But just the latency is really between the chat and, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it'll
about
be
40
good.
seconds, I think.
Yeah. So it'll be good. We'll do some future streams where we go low latency, and we'll do some tests with that to see if we can reduce that. We didn't want to push it for today, but maybe next week or the week after. Next week is a question mark, everybody. We may not be on for next week, and we'll be back 2 weeks from now. So there's a lot going on, and I may actually have some work. Amazingly, we'll have to see if that's 100%. But right now, just be prepared to know that next week is probably not going to be an episode. I apologize for that, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, the longest, if that is in fact the case. So Bart says it worked. It's a new lineup. Yep. And let's start to talk about this thing. Yeah. I got a link, Rob, from Aputure to that promo on Vimeo, and it allowed me to download it. Tiny little file, 30 megs, and 1080. It worked, and here we go. So, gentlemen, start jumping in. Tell me some of your thoughts, and if you want, either of you, if you kind of were watching it or know more about the specs of the lights, give everybody who's here a little bit more information about it and kind of what some of the unique features are, and we'll all jump into that conversation.
All right. Well, I haven't seen enough of it yet because I came on to the back of their press conference thing, the product launch this evening. So I only caught the last sort of minute of it. So I've just really gleaned little bits of what New Shooter had put up just as we were starting this. So I haven't read through it fully. But the things that look great to me and massively practical are being able to power it off MPF batteries. That's amazing. Got buckets of those that I use all the time. And then I saw that there was a picture with a Light Dome Mini attached to it. And I was wondering did you see how that attached?
Yeah,
it's not got
so
a Bowens mount on it, does it?
there's a new mount they're calling the Mini Mount.
Okay.
It's very similar to like traditional, slot-based accessories for like airy lights and other lights out there. So that gives you different accessories, which one of them is a Bowens mount adapter. So you now can use other stuff. What I don't know is they didn't really talk about the mechanism that locks the yoke. It looks kind of old school Aputure, like big, fat, thick rosette, not like the brake system they use on their current lights. And then there's also a huge accessory, which I was amazed they're even doing, and that's the, what do they call it? The Spotlight Mini?
The Mini Spot?
It's a zoom.
So, yeah, here, let me bring that up so that we can see that. So that is right here. So everybody should be able to see this. I feel too fancy now in terms of what's going on. It just
everything's working, all these fancy things.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much for me to take. I feel like that an exponential jump in production value in 7 days shouldn't happen. It's a little scary that that all of these features are there. But basically, it's called the Aputure Spotlight Mini Zoom. You guys should be seeing that up now as well. And there it is.
We can't see it, but
that'll
be the next leap is when we all in Skype can somehow see your, or whatever they're going to roll out on ECAM. There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Zoom.
Bill's saying you're just a little hot, Caleb, on your.
All right, I'll turn it down.
On your mic. Yeah. So why don't you take us through this a little bit and talk about it, Caleb?
So there's the interchangeable mounts or the adapters and accessories. I guess they're going to come out with more eventually. It comes with barn doors that slot in there. Can be powered off of V-mounts, MPF, or wall power, all through a single cable, which is pretty sweet. So you don't have all this janky stuff where you're all these different ports and everything. It's kind of a smart input when it comes to power. They have a bicolor model, which is the X, and they have the D, which is daylight only, which is obviously brighter. And it's, what is it, waterproof, right?
It is water resistant. Yeah,
65.
Yeah, it's 54. The cabling, I think, is like completely waterproof. But those are the two coming up, the 60D and the 60X. Obviously, the big difference is tunable in terms of color temperature and just a daylight model. And the big difference, similar to the 300 series, is that the X series is going to give you that tunability between 2700 and 6500 Kelvin, but you're going to get less output. So your lux output, while 4 to 5 times brighter than the Mini 20, which a lot of people have used, I have one behind me, there's still going to be a big difference in terms of output between the D and the X. And I thought it was also really interesting, gentlemen, that the glass is all designed by Aputure. So this is all their optics in all of these different devices. Really interesting. So yeah.
I know they're not going to ever do this, but wouldn't it be crazy if they how there's Deity, kind of not a spin-off, but kind of Aputure, a sister company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be crazy if they got into lenses?
Oh,
Just absurd. Because they're doing their optics on the Spotlight mount are pretty on point. I know that's not a camera lens, but
yeah, I mean,
obviously they're dabbling in some pretty high-end optic stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. They seem to have opted out of creating a zoom optic for the larger lights initially because they had concerns about distortion. And as you get to longer lenses, when they become more telephoto, then it definitely starts to be a problem in terms of that distortion. So it's interesting because it's kind of the opposite to what you would have with optics on the lens on the camera. The big problems happen when you go to really wide focal lengths. That's where you start to see a lot of distortion, and that's where they have to work really hard to take distortion out. Whereas with the lenses for things like the Spotlight, it's those longer ones that create those higher degrees that create more problems in terms of distortion and not, because the 19 degree, you've used it. It's crisp. It's really crisp. And then when you get to is it the 36? There's definitely some issues, but it sounds like they've gone through some major redesigns here in terms of what they've done. So I don't know. It's they're getting into other territory here, and they also had to develop the Fresnel lens, right? That's on the 60D and the 60X, and what is it? 15 to 45 degrees.
45?
Yeah.
Sounds
Which I think is that's a really nice.
All in a tiny package, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see a weight on their spec sheet that was on NewShooter. Do either of you know how heavy that thing is?
Let me see. I'm going to bring it up because I have the other pages of the thing here. I'm just looking while we're talking. There are no weight specs on there right now. So that is not something they have released having to do with the unit. So, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Interestingly, if that becomes not super heavy as something to travel with, if we ever get back to doing that again, yeah,
it looks really
compact,
really interesting. Because the Mini 20. What just happened? Oh,
Rob just added to your coffee fund.
Tim Hortons in the house. Let's go. Come on. There it is. Tim Hortons. I got to get back. One of the only pictures I took when I went up to Edmonton, when I got in, the only picture I took when I arrived in Canada was of a Tim Hortons. Because it's the thing. You'll see it up on my Instagram feed, which I don't post to usually unless I'm traveling. But there it is. So thank you, Rob. Again, thank you for being a continuous supporter of the channel. It means a huge amount. And Rob and I have had a nice chat recently. And it's all good. So thank you again for that. So even the new glass element on the 300X is quite an engineering accomplishment. You've used that, and you've created a video on that, Caleb. So tell us a little bit about that 300X, because it's kind of, in the whole mix of things.
It's great. It's lands output-wise in between the 300D and the 120D Mark II. Mm-hmm. I'm using it now as my background light, like bouncing into a beadboard, because now I can play around with the key and then match it with the background.
Yep.
Which works out nicely. But yeah, I think the tricky thing with Aputure and why they haven't just gone nuts with stuff is they're trying to make sure, and this is great, and I don't think a lot of people give them enough credit for this. They're trying to make sure that every fixture and modifier works. At least as much as possible. And that's why bicolor has been so difficult, is they want to make sure you can take any of their 120s or 300s on a set and it'll work with your Fresnel, your this, your that. And so that's why it took forever to get 300X figured out, is how to have bicolor without the shadows and the color changes. And then this new little 60D, they're saying it's probably not, or they're not recommending to use it with their 2X for now. Again, there's just so many, and that's probably why they don't have like a 50-degree spotlight mount. Is I wonder if it's just really tricky to get all the math figured out.
Yeah.
Bowens to the spotlight, the lensing, blah 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 blah. But I could be wrong. Yeah, so there's two kind of big questions with those lights. One I'm curious to see is actual output compared to a 120D. They didn't talk about that at all.
Nope.
And it's hard with Aputure. Like you gotta figure out what metric you're going to use to measure. But they often, when they're talking about these lights and how bright it is, like the brightest, biggest, most impressive spec is always fully, spotted.
Yep.
Which is not comparable, in a lot of places. So usually when I test the lights, I always do like open face at a meter or two and just test them all the same.
Yep.
Yeah. So, because you do this, you get into the spot thing, and then it's like, well, yes, it could be X light could, 300E could be brighter than a Joker 800 if you have it at the tightest, most, spotty point you can possibly get it. So I would love to see with a softbox or just, yeah, with a softbox, how does it compare to a 120D? So if you're doing an interview and you want something tiny, could you pack a little softbox instead of your 120D and still be able to, rock that? Because a shot like what Jem or Ben has right now, framing wise, like a light dome 36, 42 inch, whatever it is, would be good enough.
Yeah.
And you could use that little light and get enough output out of it. And then of course the price, which I can't remember who asked that earlier.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We like to do this. It's just in our nature. Do you know how much the Mini 20 is, Caleb or Ben? Can either of you pull that up?
I'll look it up. I want to say, is it like 300-ish?
Yeah, I think you're right. And then what about there's a lot of chat, by the way, going on about the C300 Mark III. 260, okay. So, and 120D2 is how much right now on the market?
$745.
Okay, so I'm gonna go out on the limb here, and my guess is gonna be if they want to shake it up even more, but there's a lot of build quality in that light. I'm gonna say $399, $499 is my guess. I think they're gonna go 400 on the D, and they're gonna go 500 on the X. I think it's gonna be if they can go a little bit lower than that, fantastic. But if that 60X is as versatile as they say it's going to be at $499, it's actually going to be good value. That's just me. So I want to see what you gentlemen think. Ben?
I would say that's pretty much where I would have it as well. Maybe possibly slightly more, but I would say it's definitely in that ballpark.
Caleb?
I think maybe 5 to 6.
Exactly what I was going to say. $499 on the low end.
On the low end.
I feel like
so you don't think they'll go
like $595 is a really solid situation. Again, because it's like the Mini 20s.
Yeah.
Those were made not even close to the quality of the 120D.
They're not made.
I was almost a little disappointed in them.
Like
the price was great.
Yeah. But
the final product just wasn't. You didn't look at the 120D and the Mini 20s and feel like they came from the same manufacturer. Yep. So these, though, I mean, depending on the output, these could be a killer dock light.
Yeah.
And they're going to sell them in kits, they said. Like, I could see a set of those, like 3 of those. You could do a lot of damage on, a smaller setup, super versatile power, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like $499's... I feel like $599 is a little more. I'm sorry. Yeah, $599 feels about right.
The X.
Yeah.
For the X, yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to yell for a second, but I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. You didn't mute yourself. You totally didn't mute yourself. That was 100% not muted.
So apparently the mute button doesn't work on the app. So that's what it sounds like in my house when I yell at my kids. So hold on, let's try it again. But I'm not going to really yell at him.
Yeah, that worked.
That works.
Okay, so I actually have to go to the A10 Mini. That's amazing. So there you go. So that's what it sounds like when I try to quiet down the house. I apologize to everybody who's wearing cans, including my friends. Carlo, jinx to you. Well, I'm also right next to the mic, but I can yell if I need to. So yeah, I don't know if $595 to me sounds a little high. I could maybe see it happening for the bicolor version, but I think that part of their game is up product quality. But they're really going after the owner-operator market, right? And there's going to be a lot of knockoffs from Godox and these other companies. There already are to a degree, and they've got to make sure that they're selling in quantity. So I don't know. What do you think?
Real quick update from Clay. Only Ben and Caleb heard it, so they didn't hear it. Just us.
Okay, well that's good, and that's because you're on the Skype call with me. So I muted my output to everybody who's watching the stream, but you guys are coming right into to ECAM Live. So, well, that's actually better.
Got it.
At least now we're learning things.
Only 2 people heard you yell at your kid.
Yeah. David, I'm sorry about my Calendly. Some things are changing for the next couple of weeks, too, in terms of time availability, because I may be working on this doc project. So I will get some more hours up there. But if you want to have a conversation about something that's kind of off that time and you just want to do 15 minutes, just hit me up through the website under the contact page, and we'll figure something out. Good. So learning more things about ECAM Live. By the way, just as an update, gentlemen, I had a conversation with Glenn, who's one of the 2 developers, his twins who started that company, ECAM. And we had a nice chat yesterday. I sent some screenshots of some things that I was experiencing. We talked about some things, and they're really heavily developing this app in terms of what it's going to be able to do in the future. In fact, he didn't say I couldn't say anything. They're trying to work on that solution where we don't have to use Skype at all in order to bring guests on, and other customizable features in terms of setting up basically who's going to be on a show ahead of time, and then you can assign them as they come in, but in a more effective way. So I think there's some big changes, and I upgraded to the standard plan. I think it's $13 a month. It's just tremendous value for $13 a month. You know, you pay for a year, and that's it's less than $150, and I think that's pretty good.
Holy grumpy penguins!
What is happening? Get out of town. Let's put that up on there, and there it is. Come on. Wait a second. You're welcome for not yelling at you. You wouldn't want me to yell at you with the dad voice.
The dad voice.
Caleb just heard it. Ben just heard it. And we've never yelled at our kids, ever. So, yelling's not part of it. Thank you very much, Grumpy Penguin. We love that you're a part of the chat. We love that you're part of the show. Go check out the Grumpy Penguins channel if you're into cars. And it's some great content. So it's really cool. And I like, you're kind of, you're not Bob Ross for sure, but you are really mellow. So you would think the Grumpy Penguin wouldn't be so mellow, but you are, and I like your style, so it's all good. So there it is. And Shiz says, haha, Penguin making Gotham unsafe again. Random question,
Nice.
Does the Aputure 120D pack enough punch for a booklight setup? Well, I'm going to answer that first.
No.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Well, the only way I can answer that is a lot of lights can be used for booklight setups if you are in a space that is starved of light. Then it's okay. But as soon as ambient light comes into the equation, then you got to have more punch, for sure. And so what I would do is I would start thinking about pushing that through either, a modifier like the light dome, which comes with magic cloth in front of it, or push it through a modifier that's a little bit heavier duty and get the booklight component out of it. You can go through like a light grid cloth or something like that kind of blooms the light but focuses it a little bit. And I would definitely do direct diffusion with that light. Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, it's not going to cut it unless you're shooting, again, like you said, in a dark room at like f2, 1.42,
yep.
or depending on your ISO combo.
Yeah.
But like Jem
three
said,
of them all at once.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I would skip the light dome. Again, that's like a headshot, like what Ben is doing right now with his image. That framing or Jem's framing, or mine, we all kind of have like a slightly different medium to close up. That would work. But for larger stuff, I would get like a 60-inch softbox. And you can get them. There's 2 different models on Amazon that I've purchased that I really like. That gets you into like 4x4 land, or bigger.
Yep.
So
this question from Rob for Caleb. Do you think Canon will ever create a YouTube hobbyist level camera, thinking one of the M mounts that has real video and streaming friendly features?
I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay.
You want to read that again?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think they will. They're M. I'm curious. They're about to do something with their M line. I feel like they were like, we've got lenses, so we'll just kind of keep making them.
Yeah.
It was their original kind of mirrorless, but I think they're gonna this or next year, in the next couple of years, do something with the M. And clearly they're developing for it. They've got patents for it.
Yeah.
So they're gonna keep moving forward. And I have a theory. I did a video on yesterday, and I think that's going to be their APS-C line. They're going to have RF full frame, M APS-C, which is a little awkward because you can't really go back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
But that's just a guess.
They got to make better lenses,
streaming.
They've got to make
Oh, yeah,
better
they do.
lenses.
They're awful right now.
Oh,
yeah.
They're dog poo. Have you used that series, Ben?
No, I haven't used it near the end.
Lenses are just, I mean, it's like you just want to put an EF mount lens adapter on there just to get away from how poopy those lenses are. And
it's like Sony Alpha
optically,
Mount,
build
Gen
quality,
1.
or just everything.
They're just poopy.
Everything.
They're everything. It's like somebody just put a brown bag with dog poop on your doorstep and said, here are your next set of lenses. So, they just are awful. And I have an M mount. I mean, I have an M3, and I was using it for vlogging for a while. But the lenses suck. That's what I got on that. Somebody asked me about protocol, and I think this is a conversation that Ben should get into as well. Any thoughts on new set protocol on a dock? I mean, it's not really on a set. Another super chat. Come on, Noir. Ed Blanc V. Am I saying it correctly? Whatever happened to the AJA Scion? I think it might be hanging out with the original Ursa, but the Ursa is winning that match right now. That is not a steal at $1,500 US. I would go and buy a Blackmagic 4K
or just
pocket
Scotch
camera.
Or
just buy like a lot of alcohol and just say, I spent my money more wisely than that. That's a weird, I mean, they basically built that camera into like a non-log camera, which is crazy for AJA if you think about it. And that was, that's the butt of many jokes. It's a historical camera, right, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was that year when they came out with it and everyone went, what? Why? What? And then it just never, I think we all expected it to be developed a little bit more, and it just, I think they wrote that off as a bad idea pretty quickly, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. It was their one and only camera.
They milked it though for a while.
They did.
They were almost writing you a check for $500 to just try, like a paying you to rent it.
I know.
It was messed up. Like no questions asked. We'll send one to you for like a month to play with.
Amazing.
Anybody.
Yeah.
You just had to fill out a form or something.
Yeah. It's and the screen on that thing. I mean, it was like a postage stamp. I think the only worst screen out there is on the EVA 1. The EVA 1 takes the cake for any modern camera. It's like, doesn't matter what angle you can be in a black like box room and you still can't see the image because a tiny reflection.
0.8 nits.
Yeah, it's like a half a nit, and it's the glossiest screen in the history of
contrast ratio negative 500.
It's a negative contrast ratio, negative 500 to 1.
That'd be an interesting stream. Best or worst cameras of all time. I've had that on my like YouTube list for a long time, but never got around to it.
I mean, I would be down for that.
Great idea.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
or the worst gear we've ever owned. That'd be a good one too.
I think we did an episode on that, didn't we? Did we do that, or just the things that we hate?
I can't remember.
There's not enough time in an hour.
I don't know.
Huh? What?
I can't remember. Too many shows. We'll just remake it.
Yeah, why not?
Version 2.
So this dock thing. So this dock thing is kind of interesting. It's really hard to say what this. I'm going to go down. It looks like and work on this project. I'm not going through airports. All of the people have been isolating, and it's a tiny crew of a few people, and it's tied into something that will also be used for fundraising for a hospital. So there's a lot of decision making that goes into taking on the job right now. And the decision is, travel for 14 hours, essentially straight with a couple of stops. Don't stay over on the way down. Same on the way back. And stay at one hotel that has, great protocols in place in terms of setting that up. Bringing my own cleaning supplies. And then I also will have a healthy amount of masks. And, the whole viewpoint for me right now is making sure I'm doing everything possible that if I was sick, I wouldn't be getting other people sick, right? So that's, to me, the right viewpoint at the moment. It's not that I won't take precautions so that I don't get sick, but I have to always take the precaution that there's an assumption that it's invisible, let's just say. So to me, that's the first step you take. When you get into bigger productions and commercials and things like that, that's a whole other subject matter. But I don't know what you think, Benjamin, what you think, Ben, because you're out on essentially corporate / doc style projects too. So what do you think about stuff?
In terms of working in this environment, you mean?
Yeah, set safety and etiquette and all of those things.
I shot a job last week or week before last, which was a little pilot for a web series, like a cooking series we did in Prague, which is like a celebrity sort of cooking show, which is all based around what's going on now, and they're essentially feeding the emergency services. So they go into a restaurant, they get the chef that owns that restaurant, and they get the celeb, and then they cook lunch, and then they give it to policemen, firemen, doctors, nurses, all of that kind of stuff. It's quite a nice little thing.
Yeah.
So we shot that. It's relatively easy because you have to wear a mask as soon as you leave your house anyway. So the way that worked, everyone's in. If I'm just going to the shops here, I wear a sort of a fabric mask. But for that, I actually bought proper N95 respirator and had that on all day long, other than when I ate. And that was it. That stayed on because I had to go and rent gear from the rental house. So I think here everything's sort of fairly geared up. There's generally a protocol in place for dealing with it. If I had a job in the UK right now, I don't know quite how that would work. Right. But I think that's the thing. When I came back, I absolutely disinfected all my gear. And again, just trying to work out the stuff that's not going to send your screens on the back of cameras to bubbly, horrible messes that used to happen. Did either of you ever have this with Sony, like A7s? That if you ever were outside wearing like insect repellent or I don't know, maybe sun creams as well, and the whole screen just went this horrible, weird,
goop.
I don't know. It's like it kind of was like a mottled thing. So rather than it being a consistent black on the screen when it's turned off, it was all kinds of little bits of grey and.
Oh, because of touching it and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their screens are trash. They just disintegrate. Like if you try to buy a really old Sony camera, I did a video where I talked about cheap cameras. Yeah. And almost all of the older Sonys, like they all had screen problems. Like where like the whatever the film is on there just disintegrates.
It's terrible, and certainly insect repellent definitely does it, and maybe a load of other things as well. Yeah, Jago, I know we've spoken about this before, we had the same problems with them. So if you are going out and doing work, and then you're going to douse down your kit afterwards, make sure, just do a little bit of reading up as to what is in that particular, because here they're selling things that are COVID disinfectant, but that's full of hydrogen peroxide. Right? So certain things, it works very well at doing what it's supposed to do, but I don't think I want to put that on glass, on screens. Yeah. But mics, yeah, for sure. There's certain things that it's fine on. So
yeah. I use those little screen protectors on my screen for the Pt.3. So it's kind of like a protector that you put on an iPhone, and that can help. Same. Because you can just pop those off, and as long as the touch, you have to make sure you buy one where the touch works. And then as long as that's still working, if you have a touch screen, then that's the way to go. But really read the reviews. Buy one where people are saying there isn't a lot of light loss. The touch works on it. I think that's the way to go. So
I would also say if you just own a Sony camera, just buy a screen protector.
Yeah,
a couple bucks on Amazon.
Yeah,
they have design.
Yep. Yeah, actually, that's a
Yeah.
good
Not if I do
reminder.
a couple shout outs here.
Yeah, do it. You take over. Do it.
So Uphill Cinema is in here. Good to see you, Levi. We've bumped into each other's in the halls, in the central hall over the years. Rest in peace, NAB.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I saw Tommy's in here. Good to see you,
Yep.
Tommy. And Shiz is dropping all these fancy fonts and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Love it.
So someone mentioned the XH2. I saw that in the rumor mill today. That Panasonic said they're going to be making one.
Really?
Which I think they weren't. And then they saw all this Canon stuff. This
Yep.
Canon R5 madness, and they're like,
Mm.
maybe we should do something, because the XT4
Yep.
was awesome for a month. and it's still not available now, and now there's all this stuff. Like, all Canon had to do is what they did. Here's an R5, it's the best thing ever. Oh, and there's an R6, and it's not as expensive.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
So now Sony and everybody looks awful, you know?
Well,
Anyway.
Sony particularly. Did everyone enjoy the Sony event last week?
Not as much as I enjoy the Panasonic one today.
It sounds like that was amazing.
I put it on in the background, and it was like,
You'll never get that. You'll never get that part of your life back.
Well, I put it on in the background, but it's like automated cameras and like fake or like 3D generated sets and stuff.
Yep.
So anyway,
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
At least when you're at home, you can get away from it. The thing is when you've gone to those things, when we're at NAB and we're going on press tickets, and then you've gone into that expecting something amazing, and you know in the first 5 minutes that this is going to be an entirely like broadcast, and there's nothing in this for us of any interest. And it's at this point at which, like, is this cool just to do one and leave, or do we have to sit through this entire thing? And then they get this they're cringy, awful corporate things. Terrible.
And there was a lot more exciting stuff that was released in the Canon event, but did I just go glitchy for a second? It looks like I'm going.
oh my
glitchy.
gosh! Oh no, dude!
There we
split
go.
in
Look,
half.
check it out.
You're
there we
chopped
go.
up.
There we go. Amazing. I'm wondering if that's. Let me just see something here. Am I
Are
still
we like
chopped
that?
up? I don't know. I was.
No, you're good. You're good for now.
You know what I was doing? I was being cheeky, and I was trying to hit the internet a little bit. And wait a minute, did I just see a super? What is going on here? And
You got 2 more super chats.
oh, come on, we're gonna give them each. Let's see, what's that? Did you all hear that Aputure is in talks with other companies to use Sidus Link? It was talked in the week 2 video news shooter. I didn't. Didn't we talk about that last week though? We had that conversation. We did say that would be pretty
you said that.
interesting. Did I? Oh, yeah, it seems familiar. Well, thank you, Kyle, for the super chat, $4.99 US dollars. Where's the other one? I got to find it because I was
Isaiah, Isaac.
Isaac.
Insole.
Let's see. Let's go.
What's a
Boom.
$17?
Australian dollars,
Australian
no?
dollars.
Oh, I don't know if that works in my favor or not, but I don't really care because it's from down under. So, and it's if you say forget it. I don't. Let's see. Any tips for matching C-Log and F-Log Xt3 versus C100 5D Mark IV? Whoo. It's. I'm gonna let everybody kind of give a little bit of information here. The trick here is A, that we have different sensors in the cameras, and B, it's not the log part of the equation, which is the dynamic range. It's the gamut that is the real problem, right? That's where we start to talk about the color and how the color is interpreted and how big or how small that color gamut is that's being captured. And it also means that, when each of these cameras are capturing something like the C100 and C100 Mark II are capturing at 35 megabits per second. Xt3 can capture up to 400 megabits per second. 5D Mark IV is relatively low data rate. If you're going external, of course, you're going to get a better signal, a little bit more information, but you're still dealing with that sensor issue. There's a nice video that Gerald Undone just came up out with, having to do with color matching. Caleb, you have a pretty recent video on your channel about that as well, so I'm going to let you take over that with just that little bit of information from me, because I think you have more expertise on that. Go for it. Yep.
Oh, geez.
Come on.
I think it's just, yeah, Gerald's video is great. I haven't done one on matching cameras, especially cross-platform, if you will. But definitely, if you don't already know or haven't used vector scope, waveform, those tools are a must.
Yep.
And then DaVinci Resolve makes it really easy. If you're in like Final Cut or Premiere, it gets pretty tricky. One thing I haven't played around with, and I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts, is ACES. Have either of you delved hardcore into ACES?
No.
I've dabbled without going full hardcore, but what I have used, which uses a more simplified version of this, is using the nitrate plugin, because that what that does from Film Convert. So that does, it works in the same way that it does databases all the different sensors. So you tell it what you are starting with. So what was this? Which camera was this on? Which color space were we shooting in? And then you're going out to film emulation, essentially, which is its sort of limitations. You're not really bringing it into a 709. You're doing something with it creatively. But if you then put your target film stock in on multiple cameras, and you've actually told the plugin what those are, it actually gets pretty close. So as a really fast way of matching them, and that works in a similar way to ACES. ACES is a far more complicated and higher end version of that. Yeah. But I find that for quick matching, it's great. And often then, because it put loads of grain simulation on stuff, which I'm not a big fan of, but it's all just dialed downable. So you can pull out the grain of it, and if you like the color look, you can just then change the opacity of that as well. So that's a pretty fast and easy way of matching to different cameras. I've done that quite a bit recently.
So Tony in the chat is saying use Resolve Color Manager. Resolve Color Management is simpler than ACES, same principle, which is interesting. I've never even done that before.
Neither have I.
And then,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and if at all possible, the best way to match cameras is to use the same camera or at least the same brand. So if you're going to regularly be working with two cameras, if at all possible, unless it's if you're in an interview situation, definitely you gotta have at least within the same family, if not the same camera. If you're gonna do it day in, day out, if it's, I use this for gimbal work and this for whatever, then that may be different. What do you think, Jim? Ben?
Yeah. I mean, it's a big subject, and I would say that of all areas that I feel that I'm not qualified to really give advice on, it's probably drones and kind of colorist space stuff. That whole kind of color grading area is the least area of expertise for me, but I do have enough knowledge to kind of say that best practices are, roll camera on the chip chart when you're in production. Make sure that all of those cameras are, pointed at that chip chart. Seems like, the two companies out there are DSC and X-Rite in terms of the video checker as well. And so we roll on those. It's absolutely about using the same cameras or cameras with the same sensor if at all possible. And, the concept of ACES, of course, is, and probably the only app that we have access to, and you probably want to have a properly calibrated monitor and all of that stuff to do this, that we have access to is Resolve. And if you're going to think about ACES and start dabbling in that, that's where you would go. But the idea is it's supposed to be the equalizer, where you're bringing in footage and you're saying, yes, all of these are different sensors. They all have different characteristics in terms of how they, look at things and how they treat color. but we're going to equalize everything. You're never going to get more dynamic range out of a camera by using ACEs. You're not going to increase the color gamut by using ACEs, but what you can do is equalize the cameras so that they're in essentially the same starting place. But the problem is that, at least from what I've read, it's not always consistent, and it doesn't always work. Joe is making a great comment here. Match lenses too. The lenses you're using make a huge difference. You know, if you're using Canon glass and then you take your B or C camera and you're using Zeiss glass, those are so far apart from each other in so many ways in terms of micro contrast, but more so how they deal with color. Zeiss lenses are just always going to be cooler than Canon lenses. Canon lenses are always going to be warmer, and I think you guys will have some, thoughts on lenses as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to go back to the thing you were talking about, shooting color charts, which is definitely something that you should be doing if you're using two cameras that from different manufacturers. Certainly, be careful with them as well, because you get shiny. Particularly the black swatches on them are very shiny, and if you're using those outdoors, particularly, you end up with the black swatch that's just completely obliterated because it's reflected the sun in. So what I always do is, when you're rolling on them, have someone hold it and tilt it up and down and left and right, and then you will at some point in all of that have a frame where with the black swatches clean and black and not reflecting anything.
Yep. And it's nice. Shiny. It's shiny because it's supposed to give you a super black. That's the whole purpose of it, but you have to be really careful in terms of those reflections. So yeah, for sure.
Tony, great channel, by the way. I just checked out his channel. He's got lots of good tutorials. Do you have a video on color management? If not, will you make one? That'd be kind of dope. Anyway.
Oh, you're saying for Tony? Yeah, do it.
Yeah, Tony, dropping all this color management love.
Yeah, apparently my whole idea of not drinking too much scotch went out.
That just went out the window.
went down the toilet. It's here we are chatting about shop, and it's just happening. So we only have a few more minutes here, so let's read some more things.
While you're reading, I'm just going to lightning round the rest of the things that I saw.
Yeah, man.
Since this is kind of the final NAB show. IntelliTech has a massive LED matte.
That thing looks amazing.
Yeah. Geez, was that it? I think that may have been it.
Well, there's the... Atomos has released finally their sync module that uses their time code, which you can use for mirrorless and DSLR cameras. So jam syncing should be a lot easier. So that's kind of interesting. But what were you going to say?
OWC released a 16 terabyte external SSD.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what?
It's a version of a RAID with smaller SSDs, but it has two Thunderbolt 3 ports. Guess the price. 16 terabyte SSD.
How many? 60?
Yes, the price. For a 16 terabyte.
I'm going to say, okay, hold on. I'm going to say $3,999.
Not quite.
Okay.
$4,780.
No, that's what I said. I said $4,000. So it's I said
$399.
I said $3,999.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Wait, so how much is it?
I
so
think
it's
that's a bargain.
$4,700? It's $4,700?
Yeah. 40, almost 48.
Yeah.
I think that's a bar. 16 terabytes.
That's ridiculous, which means
for speeds that are like more than you'll ever need.
Right. And how big is that? Is it a 2.5, or is it have to be it's a 2.5? 16 terabyte?
No, it's a box. It looks like
it's rated.
It looks like a zip drive. Yeah, it's a rated M SATA or M.2 stuff.
I wonder how many drives are in there.
Interesting.
Okay, that's interesting.
I think it said in the article. Anyway, it's not a new shooter.
Clay says, are we talking about the Aputure bulb? I mean, it's an evolved version of what they showed at NAB last year. It's RGB WW, supposed to be very color accurate. Has a built-in battery. They're nice diffusion, hole in the top, Sidus Link compatible, 7-watt draw. And if it's anywhere less than $75 US, which it will be probably, I'm going to buy probably a half a dozen of them. I'm almost more interested in that than I am with the MC, which I think is just amazing. But the bulbs for me are just crazy, and recharges in an Edison thing.
Day.
Come on, all day long, baby. That is the thing right there. I mean, those are going to be amazing.
And I wonder how much they're going to cost. I hope it's in that $50 to $80.
Yeah.
That was what they were talking
some
about.
mounts for that thing and just go ham. Use that. Replace the MC, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, excellent. Very excited about that too.
And with
I'm happy for more than a year.
And with that, kiddos, I'm going to have to, now that my internet holds up, except for the whole, I was chopped in half when I started to like, do crazy stuff. You have to, David, you have to go to Canon's website and you basically go to the particular camera that you're looking for and do that. Sometimes it's weird with Canon when you want to download LUTs. You just have to basically say camera model LUTs, and then you might be downloading them from the Canadian website or the Indonesian website or the UK website because that's what's coming up in the Google, results. But don't worry about it. Take a chance and you'll all be good. They said they're aiming for $60 US on the bulb, Bart says. And we are at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Now that I've got some bandwidth, I'm going to think about doing the happy half hour after Cameron Flask on Zoom in the future. Not quite there yet. And it's been a good one, gentlemen. Here we are an hour later without any major audio dropouts, without any huge video dropouts, except for that little funkiness when I tried to break the system and do some things. And you guys are beautiful. Love you guys. And any parting words from Ben and from Caleb?
Other than that, I'm slightly missing the technical challenge of getting it through. This is all wonderful, but I feel like we've lost something. Yeah, exactly. I think we should go back. Abandon this. Let's go back to the old.
Sign back up for Lightstream.
It was more fun.
It's funny because I really had this question in my mind, like, did I, because I canceled Lightstream, and they're just really lovely people. Like their customer support is amazing. When they gave me a refund, which they did, and I want to just say that out loud, the guy was like super friendly, amazing about doing it. They just need to work out some kinks, because I was like, is it my connection? But it wasn't, because Caleb has been hosting the show for a long time, and a lot of these issues have continued to rear their ugly head. I think they're going to get it at a certain point, and while a lot of people are on the StreamYard bandwagon, if Lightstream can work out their kinks, I think they're going to definitely be at the top of the heap when it comes to cloud-based live streaming solutions. But right now it's ECAM Live and also Mimo Live. I think we should do some stuff in there. That's really like a TV production studio in a box. It's really full featured. It's definitely a bigger investment, but I'm excited with what ECAM's doing right now. Caleb, final thoughts for the peeps.
Everyone support ECAM. They're awesome. They get the Schofield star.
That's right.
And have a good week. Don't lick handrails.
Amazing. Everybody, thank you for coming every week. Thank you for making this a small, little, but important community for us, and for giving us this, little bit of normalcy every week. The interesting thing is this has been going on since well before this situation. It's more important than ever, I think, for many of us to have this, because we're sitting at home, we're not seeing a lot of people in the social environment, and it'll be really interesting to see how this actually goes in the long term, as far as how much of this continues. It will not be the way it's been for the last 2 months, but it'll be nice to see if there's this community thing, not only at Cameron Flask, but some of the other things that have popped up over time. And Bart, maybe what I'll do is I'll have some glitch layers or scenes where I can sneak some stuff in that just makes it seem like the whole system's breaking if this is consistently good. But trust me, when I get out to the barn and we start doing tests out there, shit's going to break. That's all I got to say. Gentlemen, thank you so much again. Love you guys. And to everybody in the chat, thank you again. And we'll see you. I'm going to call it right now. We'll see you in 2 weeks. So don't expect an episode next Wednesday. I'll try to sneak one off on my channel, earlier in the day, but I don't think it's going to happen if I go do this doc. So 2 weeks from now, content will be back. And all the best to everyone. Thank you. And Ben, Caleb, stay safe. And it was great again.
Thank you. You too.
And here we go. And all I have to do is press finish now. And ECAM Live takes care of the rest. It fades to black. It's so beautiful. Here we go.